disrespect you respectfully. Humbly, nah, respectfully.
Because I'm back.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah, man, how you doing? You good? I know you like that. I know you like that.
Season 2, you know the vibes. Respectfully.
See the girls in the club.
I don't get to assimilate into anything other than the black experience. For me to be given the opportunity to be a storyteller and to tell narrative of people in my community that look like me, I wear that as a badge of honor and a huge responsibility. And I am grateful for the gift of art, if nothing else, just for that. I'm Michael Kenneth Williams. When Omar Devon Little came into my life, I was in an extremely dark place. I was in debt, borrowing money from my family to pay my rent in projects. 9/11 had come and gone, and I was lost. I remember I was sitting down in my living room with my cousin, AKA Sean Price, and we were, smoking weed, drinking beer. We normally do, put the TV on, but mute it and play music. And we usually either be playing spades or game of chess. And here comes my episode of The Sopranos. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. There's something wrong with this picture. I'm looking at myself on television, but I'm sitting here, kind of like really not being productive with this gift, with this opportunity. And I went back to my mom and I said, you know what, I think I need to give show business one more shot. And so I put out this package. I got a new headshot, new resume. They were doing this thing called reels. I had to create a reel. And I sent out this package. Figure by the second week in January, I would be getting, the phones would be ringing off the hook that, Michael K. Williams is back. That kid with the guy with the scar, he's back. And that wasn't happening either. And I sunk into a very, very dark place. Really bad depression. I was in my apartment and I get a phone call. My mother, she says, come downstairs, you got a fax. And that fax was from Alexa Fogel. It was the role of Omar, the breakdown. I went in and I read one time for that character. She sent the tapes in to David Simon and Nina Noble and Ed Byrne. Next thing I knew, I was being called to report to Baltimore for work. During the process of making The Wire, I was so excited. I was just so happy to have a job. I felt like my dreams were coming true. And I was really excited to be amongst what I considered greatness. Wendell Pierce, Sonia Song, Wood Harris, like they was already doing it, J.D. Williams. These are people I was just watching on television. So I was happy, and we had season 1 in the can, and I just knew that this was a black thing. Like, we made it. We got a good black TV show, and we coming back next year. And then here come David Simon with his beautiful, crazy, twisted mind, and he threw us into season 2. And I remember going to him saying, so why is it that every time black people make something hot, you take it and then you're gonna turn this into a white show? What's up with that? And he looked at me and he chuckled and he says, you know what, Michael? He said, if we went right back to the projects and to the corners in season 2, he said, it would make your world seem extremely small. He said, trust me, I got you. And then we now know season 3 and 4, 5 came and he tied this whole world in. But it was in season 3 when I started to realize that, this is not about me. It's not about my career, how much screen time I thought I should have gotten, or, what I thought the world should do, how I thought the show should go. It had nothing to do with me. And in fact, it had everything to do with it. I was just a small part of something great, this great tapestry, this great narrative of social issues that is wrong, things that are wrong in our country, not just in the black community. It's not just a Baltimore story. This is going on in every hood, in every city, in every state around these United States. And The Wire was a love letter to our nation, like a blueprint to show where we're broken in hopes of fixing what is wrong. I started looking at the way people, and particularly in my community, would come, and it wasn't just, oh, that TV show was fly, or you on that dope TV show. It was like, thank you.
But I got one more I'm gonna play. This is kind of dealing with because I didn't even know he had any issues with drug addiction or anything like that. But apparently in the industry, he was known to have battled with cocaine usage, right? And it actually started after The Wire ended, is when he kind of acquired that habit. Because being in Hollywood, you know how that goes, man. All them crazy people put you on to certain things, but here he's speaking on it right here.
With Wood, we see a perfect example of that. A lot of people often think that when a person puts down the drug or the alcohol, that all the problems go away. That couldn't be further from the truth. Drugs and alcohol are not the problems; they're merely symptoms of the problem. And once those things go away, the real work begins. Working on all the character defects, the moral compass, the skewed moral compass. Those are things that need to be addressed. Those are the reasons why we got high in the first place, and our inability to deal with life on life's terms.
Yeah.
So for me, for instance, when The Wire was coming to an end, I had no legs to stand on. I had stopped doing the work on myself, the shutting down the inner critic in my head. And, I went from being a shy, dark-skinned kid in the hood who was corny to all of a sudden, everyone is just, yo, man, I love you.
Right.
And I was like, the only small problem was they were calling me Omar and not Michael. And I was like, yeah, Omar, Michael, who gives a damn? It's the name, right?
Right.
And that was the beginnings of me losing myself, losing my identity, and in my work, and that came back to haunt me drastically toward the end. I had no legs to stand on when that show ended, because I was forced to go back and look in the mirror, and that was who wants to do that, right?
You had to go back to the mirror and ask yourself who you are.
That was a good, kind of synopsis from kind of like, he kind of explained, he covered a lot in that, right? So one of his most notable characters in The Wire, right? And how playing that role, he kind of got sucked in by the role and didn't know how to exit after the show ended, right? So, and then, drug usage and all that stuff. And it actually turns out, and I thought this was probably the case. I thought that, I had speculation this is probably the case. He ended up, it just came out that his cocaine that he was using was laced with fentanyl.
Fentanyl, yeah.
Right. And so now you see, like, he's not the first one that has suffered that his demise as a result of some fentanyl laced cocaine. And, like, I'm looking at it like, okay, well, anybody that I know that might dabble in cocaine, I'm telling them at this point, like, just try to lay off of it, because how you have, like, right now, everything is kind of bottleneck as far as from the supply side. Like, you got cars are more expensive now because supply chain is all messed up because of COVID, right? Same thing is happening on the underground economy, right? So you got people that the plug is not really able to get it across, fly it over, whatever, the way that they were before. And so people start stretching the work. And you got Michael passed. It was another person that died right before him from cocaine. DMX was, DMX.
Yeah.
And everybody got on oh man, what's his name, man? Everybody got on Murder Inc., the Murder Inc. guy, Irv Gotti.
Oh.
So Irv Gotti came out and said, like, DMX's drugs were laced with fentanyl, and that was the cause of his death. And so people kind of like lashed out at Irv Gotti and say, yo, why are you speaking on that dead man's, after he's gone, blah, blah. And I when I heard him say it, I was like, well, it kind of makes sense. That's probably what happened, you know. So I think it was DMX, you got Michael, and it was one other person. And I can't remember who it was now. But yeah, man.
That's just it's insane. That fentanyl stuff, man, they're not measuring that shit out, you know what I mean? They just
and the thing is, I saw a picture of the amount of fentanyl it takes.
It don't take much
for it to be fatal. Exactly. I mean, it takes such a small amount, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, man. So I just wanted to touch on that. I feel like that was a good way to start the show.
I mean, the streets don't have QC people. It's not like that there's a quality process.
Right. It's no quality control, man, because you think about when you decriminalize something or when you legalize something, now it is above ground. Regulated. It's out of the black market. It has to be regulated. It has to be tested, right? It's safer when you do it that way, right? But unfortunately,
political suicide. They never do that.
Right.
Yeah, they doing like weed the same way on the street.
Yep.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Because you got, the weed laced with PCP and all this other stuff,
Formaldehyde and fentanyl.
Right. The game is getting spooky. But on a lighter note, when I was researching Michael and kind of looking for some audio snippets, I didn't know this, but guess who put him on to Hollywood? Like gave him his one of his first roles.
Tupac.
You all know?
Tupac.
Oh, you knew about that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, what?
I wasn't hip.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pac.
What?
Yeah, the God. Yes, man. So Pac was, I don't know what film. Do you remember what film it was he was doing?
A Bullet.
Oh, it was Bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh.
So basically,
he played his little brother.
Okay, got you.
He played Tupac's little brother in Bullet.
So that's hard. The way the story goes is they were looking for, a person to fill that character, his little brother, apparently, right? And Pac, they were just flipping through pictures of, potential actors that could fill the role. And Pac saw Mike, and he saw that
scar,
the $150 on his face, in the middle of his face. So he was like, yo, that's the one right there. Get him. And so they went and grabbed him. And that was kind of like the start of his career. And like he said in that first clip I played, he said, I had no other choice but to represent the Black experience, because he was pretty much typecast at that point, right? That's the roles that he got pretty much were in that same wheelhouse. And so he was like, yeah, I mean, I had no other option but to play those roles. And so I had to embrace it, right? I had to embrace it. I had to love it. And I had to see kind of like the value in it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like one of my favorite roles with him was this is a show a lot of people didn't really, I feel like it was a big show, but a lot of people didn't really talk about it a lot. But Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Yo, that was my Boardwalk Empire was my joint.
Chalky White.
Yeah, Chalky White. Bro,
I ain't even never get into that though, for real.
Bro, he bodied that role, bro. He bodied that joint. Yeah, Chalky White was the realest. And the thing is, in Boardwalk Empire was basically about it was like a prequel to
all the gang stuff.
All the gang stuff, right? Yeah. And so these were like when it was all white, Irish, Italian. So the whole show was just what's up?
Jewish gangs.
Jewish gang. Yeah, exactly. So the whole show was just a bunch of different white immigrant gangs, because this is at the time where they, were settling, well, not settling, but they were moving and migrating to the US. And they all started out in the crime world, right? The underground economy. That's how they all started out. And then eventually they transitioned to legal. But the whole show was a bunch of different white gangsters.
Mhm.
And then Mike, as Chalky White, came in, and he was the black gang, right? And dog, when I tell you he rep for us so heavy, like he killed that role, dog. And then after they I think he was on there for like a strong season, right?
Yeah. No,
Yeah, and then
I
they
think
killed
he
him
was
off.
there like the whole show. Like he
Okay.
it was a large role. Like
yeah, because
it wasn't a
so
small
since I
role. It
watched
wasn't like that he was just doing a cameo or nothing.
Got you. Yeah. It's been so long since I watched that show. But yeah, man. So like, he was that guy, bro. Anyway, so did y'all have any anything to say about Big Bro?
Did you see the little short comedy thing that he did about always playing some version of himself? And he was like,
Nah.
You gotta check that out, yo.
What was it on?
It was on YouTube. It's
okay.
he always gonna be playing some version of Mike, Gangsta Mike, Not So Gangsta Mike.
Got you.
Regular Mike, but it was kind of like playing on a typecast stuff. It was him talking to himself, but it was like Omar was there. It was like Chalky White was there. All these characters was there.
Got you.
Mike was there with him talking to himself, and he was like, "Y'all gotta see it." I watch every now and then because I think it's really nice.
So was he going from character to character, kind of like?
So it's as if they put me in my office, and it's like, which Marvin are you today? Are you the father? Are you the husband? Are you this man? But it's like you can see me talking to me.
Okay.
Really broke it down, yeah.
Got you. Yeah, and I feel like he might have been what they call a method actor. So some actors, like when you're a method actor, you stay in character the whole time. Like Denzel is a method actor, so I've heard stories about how his wife, like he kind of, like lets his family know, kind of tread lightly when I'm in character, because he has to come home in characters, with certain roles. Right. And it's kind of like puts a strain on relationships to a certain extent. But yeah, like when you're a method actor, you stay in character all day, right? You show up to set as the character.
Mm-hmm.
So like they would talk about Pac. I think Mike told this story. He said one time Pac would come to set and people wouldn't be ready, right? So like the people that work the set wouldn't be ready to shoot. And so after a couple times that happened, and Pac got upset, he leaned on him and he was like, look, I show up to set in character. If I show up to set and I'm in character and y'all not ready, that means I have to stay in character and wait for y'all. So he basically, kind of leaned on everybody on the set and just let them know, like, listen, this is my process. Y'all got to respect it, But yeah, man.
Yo, I feel like that you should probably play that, yo, because like, and it's called Question Your Answers. So matter of fact, just type in YouTube Question Your Answers.
Okay.
It's just really powerful to me. Like, I really like this joint.
Oh, this is Atlantic.
Yeah.
Atlantic. I like them, bro. They do a lot of good. They got a lot of good content.
Yo, this
and they got some dope writers too.
Yo, this right here.
Their writer game is crazy.
You think I'm being typecast? I don't know. You think this cat is typecast? It's a fucking cat, Ain't got much choice. What if he moved to a new neighborhood? Hung out with the poodle crowd, did poodle things, become a poodle. Still be a cat, But what if he convinced himself that he was a poodle and everyone else that he was a poodle? Wouldn't that make him a poodle? That's a good point. I mean, weird as shit, but That's a good point. And this whole metaphor is bullshit, yo. You hear me? You think everybody don't got a role to play? Huh? You think a white boy could have played Omar? You think you could play a president? I could. And I think we've seen the last black president for a while.
That's facts.
I'm just saying. I think you're gonna always be playing some version of Mike. Gangster Mike, old-timer gangster Mike, southern gangster Mike. But I'm not a gangster. Everyone that knows me knows that. Self-denying gangster Mike. Look, I picked these roles. Me, I made this path for myself. Did you? Yeah, did you? Or did they choose you? You think we would be doing what we're doing if we had a choice? Huh? Face it, man. Look, we from a certain type of people that come from a type of place that look a type of way. You know what that make us? Black. Typecast. If I were typecast, I'd be in jail or dead. But I'm here. I got out. Got myself out. You sure about that? Yeah.
Wow.
I really like that, yo. Question your answer.
Yeah. Yeah, that was heavy.
Question your answers.
That was heavy. That definitely has some
That was dope. That was dope.
Yeah, all right, bet. Yeah, that was.
That's the way you in the mic segment, bro.
Yeah.
That's when you in the mic segment.
Yeah, that's on point.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go to the next topic. All right, so we can start out talking about Aubrey, everybody's favorite Jewish rapper.
Yeah.
So this has been floating around on social media, you know, just because social media has a lot of goofy shit going on. So, and this article right here is talking about it. All right, so it says Drake has now passed Michael Jackson when it comes to the most weeks at #1. All right.
Okay.
I've actually seen like little memes. I mean, it's kind of trolling, but just to kind of get engagements going. But like memes have been posted saying, has Drake surpassed Mike? Is Drake like bigger than Mike? That's what it was. They were like, is Drake bigger than Mike now at this point?
I mean,
so, I'll let y'all.
I mean, in reality, as of right now, yeah, he is. I mean, his impact is huge all around across the world. It is what it is.
Okay, you mean currently, as in?
Yes, and
like,
currently, yes.
Oh, okay.
We're to the point where, like now, the only people that literally care about Michael Jackson is the people in our age demographic right now. All the millennials, they don't give a shit about Michael. All the people that's coming after them, they ain't gonna give a damn about Michael. We understand the impact of Michael. Like, we remember when Michael got on the stage, there was little kids out there fainting.
It wasn't little kids. All the time it was grown men.
Grown women, grown people,
yeah.
Passing out.
Facts.
Talk about Michael and
facts. Yeah,
like
I've never seen
shot or something.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody pass out over Aubrey, but listen,
but that's not the point.
I don't want this to come off like I don't want this to come off like I am not like I don't bang with Drake's music, because I've been banging with Drake's music since the mixtape days, right? So like I bang with Drake, man. He makes great music. You know, you can't deny it. So just to kind of touch on what Gary said. Okay, so let me just make sure I'm getting what you're saying right. When I was saying like, is he bigger than Mike? Not currently, right? Because Mike's, you know, he's not alive. So he's not, he hasn't come out with a song, and you know, he's been dead for like what, a couple decades. I'm saying as far as just the whole lexicon of artists from, then to now, has Drake officially surpassed? It's kind of like the argument of, is LeBron the GOAT of basketball, right? So it's one thing to say, like, right now, yes, LeBron is the GOAT of basketball because Jordan is not playing basketball. Yes. So I'm trying to get what you're saying is, you're saying that currently, as it currently stands, he's bigger because, right, okay.
How can you be bigger than the person you're measuring yourself against?
Because
that's a good point.
We're talking about, we're talking about
I'm saying
right now.
If I'm measuring
people that's bringing up that particular argument are people from our age demographic. I'm telling you, 19-year-olds don't even remember who the hell Michael Jackson really is. They're not checking for them.
Well,
you check the streams of today. If you check the streams of the day, most of you going to see is the new Drake album. You're not really seeing, don't stop till you give it up. You don't hear that right now.
What I'm saying is,
you don't hear it though. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
like,
you were
right
sick.
now,
You were sick. You a sick individual, bro.
What I'm saying is you talking about somebody that broke. I mean, like, he created MTV for what it is, for what it was. What I'm saying is, Mike. I could care less what somebody 19 is talking about, what they think about, because regardless, Mike happened. Mike is real. In fact, if you talk about Mike, meaning you know about Mike. Like, it's Mike. Like, Mike was like, we talking about somebody that's dead, so you can't, and it's not like he's still out here producing singles.
True. But if he was, all right. Let's do a hypothetical here. If Mike was to drop an album today, on the same day that Drake was going to drop an album, nobody's checking for Mike, bro.
Oh, okay. Hold.
Man, against a 36-year-old rapper.
No,
that's
okay.
My
So
point, dude. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is that I'm not trying to take away.
Speaking Howlin' Oates.
Right.
No.
I think there's
I'm
a
not
disconnect.
I'm not taking away from Mike's overall impact or anything that he's done in his career. Mike has something on Drake. Mike has 30 plus odd years, 60 years in the game to make all this music, all these hits. We talk about Jackson 5, the Jacksons, to his overall career. His impact is unmeasurable. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about 2021, September, the 24th, today, nobody's checking for Michael Jackson right now. I can tell you right now, just like 20 minutes ago, I was listening to a Drake song like 20 minutes ago. I can't even tell you the last time I listened to a Michael Jackson song. And I love Mike. I'm just saying.
Okay, so look. I think this is the thing. This is the thing. Not that Gary needs to be shot some deal. Not that Gary is gonna need somebody to clear up what he's saying. Because Gary is he knows what he's saying, but I think it does need some clearing up. Gary is clearly looking at, okay, let's say Mike was alive today, right? If they dropped an album at the same time, right? Mike is like, at this point, would be a washed up artist. Like he would be like the old, when they put U2 albums on everybody's Spotify and everybody was like, what is this doing on my streaming? I don't even want to hear this shit.
Exactly.
Right? So, but I think this is where it might get lost in translation, right? When you say, okay, has Drake surpassed Mike in the music lexicon? You're not looking at it, or a lot of people might not be looking at it from a purely timetable standpoint, right? Or like the hypothetical of if they dropped at the same time. I think what people are saying is Drake as an artist in his time, right? Bigger than Mike was in his time, right? I think that is the debate, right? And if that is the debate, I would have to err on the side of Michael Jackson was definitely a bigger artist during his time, right?
Okay.
Michael Jackson crossed all genre barriers, and Drake does to a certain extent as well. But Mike literally created a genre. Mike created pop. There was no pop before Mike.
It was always pop music, sir.
Okay, so you had soul music, you had R&B music, right?
Yes.
When Mike transitioned into like the Thriller, right?
Okay.
And like Beat It and all those things.
I'm not gonna agree with you on this. I'm sorry.
Right, but you gotta let me finish though. I know you're upset because you're riding. But you gotta let me finish. So when he came,
we're gonna do? Come on, bro.
No, I'm just saying you gotta let me finish. I'll let you rock. So you gotta let me rock. So I remember reading a book on Motown, and they talked about how Mike came up. I don't know why you twisting your face up, nigga. So in the book, they talked about how Mike came up under, like the Berry Gordy, I think Berry Gordy, right? Yeah. Quincy Jones, right? So his OGs were like Marvin Gaye, Al Green, right? He came up under those guys. So that was like when it was soul music.
James Brown,
right? And in the book, it talked about how he was always kind of like the young boy that he could sing just as good, if not better than most of those guys. But he was on the same level at a very young age, but he was still growing. So by the time he kind of like broke out of that straight up soul R&B, Jackson 5, started doing his solo stuff, and then it kind of matured into being like this crossover phenomenon, right? He really crossed over where other R&B and soul artists did not cross over. And that was a result of him being this nuance of pop. So yeah, so once he got to that point where it was like, oh snap, this young boy doing something different. He's no longer doing R&B and soul anymore. And they pigeonhole us into that, right? You have people like, like Little Richard, James Brown, right? They kind of like got out of that, but they were still in kind of like in that soul. Mike took it to somewhere else where he started getting, and that's where he started to be like pop. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard that, but that's why they call him the king of pop.
They call him the king of pop because he has the most popular music of that era. He had the most number one that particular era. Not because he created it, because he was the dude when he was out. You feel me?
Okay, so what pop artists were there before Mike?
I mean, like, we can talk about every single artist that didn't make R&B, like all the white people that came out before him. Like, there was guys like, hold on. There was guys like Elvis Presley that came out before Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Who they called
I see what you're saying. That's what I'm
just saying, bro. Like, I mean, he didn't create anything like that. He was just the number one dude.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying, and that's a good point. But what I'm saying is, that's why when I say Drake could never surpass Mike, is because he didn't really create a new genre of anything. Drake, what Drake is essentially is he's a great. Well, I mean, I guess it's up for debate if he's a great rapper because he doesn't write everything. I think that he has the ability to be a great rapper. And he might actually be one. I don't know who's writing or how much they're writing, whatever. But Drake is a great rapper that makes great music, right? And he's able to appeal and cross over, partly because his music is good, but also because he's half white. And you can't really say that, okay, well, since he crosses over and Mike crossed over too, Drake is at the point where he's surpassed Michael Jackson, right? Like, I don't think that you could legitimately say that unless you're saying it from the perspective that you were saying it from. From that perspective, yes, I do agree with you. If Mike and Drake came out with an album today, a lot of people might not be checking for Mike's album.
Are we talking about? So is this debate about like Michael Jackson's impact at his given like in his generation versus
that's
Drake's
what I said in the
impact
beginning
on the current impact of right now?
That's what I explained in the beginning.
All I can say to that, like, it's hard to say, to be honest with you. It's a very difficult debate.
Hey, let me ask you a question.
It is.
Drake's best album, right?
Okay.
Put out the same time Thriller was put out.
Okay.
Where does it go? Thriller. Now I'm talking Thriller.
That's a good point.
A couple songs.
No, it's not. Because if you'd have dropped Thriller today, it wouldn't do good. And you know that.
What? What are you talking?
The sound is different. It just wouldn't do good today, is what I'm saying.
No, Gary.
That's what I'm saying.
You got it.
Today,
right,
and you drop Drake's album today.
Right.
We talk Certified Lover Boy today. Certified Lover Boy is going to do better than Thriller would do today.
No, but I think so. I'm seeing your point. I'm with you, but I think you're not seeing our point, right? So like you're still looking at it from Michael Jackson drops that music in 2021, right?
Yes.
That is giving bias to Drake because 2021 is his era. So his music is going to sound like 2021. Of course, if Mike dropped Thriller right now, I mean, if Marvin Gaye dropped his joint or what was his best? I can never think of it.
Hear My Day?
No. When he got political and
What's going on?
Please forget what's going on. If Marvin dropped What's Going On today, then it would not do as well as Drake because that's in the 2021 era. So you can't, what I'm saying is to make that comparison, you have to control for time, right? And what I'm saying is that's why you have to separate the two and say Drake in his time, Mike in his time. If you have Mike dropping an album in 2021, you're automatically going to, give that to Drake. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying.
No, I'm talking to Marvin's point, not the overall point. I was just speaking to Marvin's point. Marvin's point was if he was to drop Thriller and you take his best album here and you take his best album, you can't do that. You just can't. There's two different time eras that you just can't. It's hard to kind of just, determine what would be the better thing at this time. Because 21 sounds like this, 1986 sounds like that. You feel me?
The higher or the thing to me personally is that why do we compare them as if they're on the same, like nobody compares Nirvana
because the comparison is all
to Rolling Stones. Nobody said, hey man, Rolling Stones and Nirvana. They don't, it's all music. If it's sound good, if not, then turn it off.
That shit happens in other spaces. It's just the reason why we compare them is because Drake right now is the #1 artist in the world right now. At one given time, Michael Jackson was the #1 artist in the world. You know what I mean? And that's just that's what it is.
Okay.
And all the time, like Drake always says he wants to be the next Michael Jackson. He wants to have the impact that Michael Jackson had. You understand what I'm saying?
He wants to. So you're saying, in summation, what you are saying is yes, he has achieved the goal of not only meeting Michael Jackson, but he has surpassed Michael Jackson.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he's achieved being the #1 artist of his time and generation right now. Just as well as Michael Jackson did the same thing in his generation.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree with that, but I thought you.
And that's all I'm saying. I never said anybody was greater than anybody. I never said that. I said that if you take him right now, Michael Jackson would be the greatest of his generation, and Drake right now is the #1 guy in his generation right now. I said if you take Michael Jackson's music and put it in 2021, it wouldn't sound as good as if you put it in 1986. That's all I said.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That wasn't the debate. The debate wasn't if you take Michael Jackson's music and put it in 2021, is it still just would it be accepted as much as it was back then?
Yeah,
that wasn't the debate.
I understand that, but that's when Marvin brought up that point. He's all like, he brought up Thriller, and I was just like, okay, That's all good. That was his
okay, I see
greatest
what you're
album
saying.
of that time.
Right,
I understand
right.
that. But it wouldn't
Yeah.
sound the same if you thought it brought it out here in 2021, is what I'm saying. Just as much as if you take anything of Drake's and brought it back to 1986, they'd be like, what the fuck is this?
So hold on. I mean, you mean to tell me that one of our greatest singers, arguably right now, has to be Chris Brown, right? I'm talking about like per singer, like I'm talking about like out and out, not the bullshit with the audio tuning and all that shit. I'm talking about singing, right?
Okay.
If you never heard Thriller, you never heard Billie Jean, and you let Chris Brown sing those exact same songs, the exact same one you heard today.
I mean, what the greatest singer in my opinion, Breezy is that he's that guy.
No, but
technically the greatest singer would be R. Kelly. But let's just, I'm not.
No, I'm just saying like
edit that shit the fuck out, please.
Yeah. All right, come on, we gotta come on, man. Look, black folk have got. Look, I the other day. I said to somebody, this is a side note. I said to somebody like, yo, there's two types of black folk in present day America, present day US, right? It's the black folk that never stop listening to R. Kelly. And then it's the black folk that tried to pretend that they used to, like they grew up with him, right? Listening to him. And now they're saying that they don't listen to him anymore. Anybody who does not listen to R. Kelly anymore did not grow up listening to R. Kelly music. I don't care who you are, all right? And
it is impossible to stop listening to that dude, though.
Like, who's not listening to R. Kelly?
The music is too golden, and it is part of it's etched in your childhood. Like it's the soundtrack to your childhood, yo.
Listen, they just had somebody's uncle on the new West Side Gun album.
Oh my God, he smoked it too.
Bump and grind, smoked.
He smoked it, and he smoked it.
Come on.
Oh yeah, sidebar about that West Side Gun stuff too, yo.
What's up?
Boy, that joint is fire. That's all I'm gonna tell you. That is fire.
No, hype beast.
No hype beast. It's just a really good album, bro.
No, it's amazing.
I agree with you in your overall. No, it's fire.
Yeah, you're right. It's amazing. It's probably the best album I've ever heard.
I ain't gonna say all that, but I'm gonna say it's a good West Side Gun album. I think so.
Yeah. No, you can't have a bad West Side Gun album because if you like West Side Gun albums, they're all gonna be good or great.
I ain't say all that. I just thought it sounded dope. I think it's fire.
I know that joint with my man Larry June on it. My man Jay Worthy on it. Yeah, area.
I'm just saying, it gave you everything, man. It gave you mad flavor, yo.
Yeah, that's a fact. So, all right, but Marvin, go ahead. Say what you were saying. You were saying Chris Brown, right?
Hey, if you've never heard any of those songs before, right? You didn't hear Billie Jean, you didn't hear Thriller. If Chris Brown would do those same songs, you mean to tell me that wouldn't be still a good album? Like if it came out
So you're telling me, so what you're saying is if Chris Brown was to not remake, but make the Thriller album and dropped it out today.
But you've never heard any of those songs before.
And we never heard those songs before, and it sounded like the Thriller of 1982. Is that what you're asking?
You don't think that those songs would go off in
No, I don't. It doesn't sound. No, I don't think it would do well because the sound. Think about it. The sound is different. Everything got hi-hats and trap beats behind that. And if we're talking about Billie Jean with trap beats behind it, then yeah, maybe it'll do well. But if it sounds like the old rudimentary analog sounding 1982, no, it's not going to do well. It's just not.
I mean, look,
over and over. It's almost like these niggas pass around the same file. Yo, just throw this behind the beat. You got it.
Right. I mean, look.
Personally, shit's getting old at this point. Like, yo, can somebody come up with a new beat?
I feel exactly what you're saying. But at the end of the day, it's the way the sound is right now. So if you put out this particular sound of music, and
it's like disco, right? So disco was the shit at one point.
It ain't gonna be the same.
It's disco.
It's not gonna be the same.
I mean, look, I think
it wouldn't be trailblazing as it was before.
All right,
you know what I mean?
All right, so let's put a button in this one, because we could go on forever debating, because it's so subjective. So like we can go on forever debating how the sound is today versus the sound is back in the day. Which one is better? But I think all those things aside, I think the debate was okay. Is Drake in his time a bigger artist, a better artist, and has he surpassed Michael Jackson in his time, right? My take on that is hell to the no. And most people on Facebook, social media platforms, that aren't like, that were born after, or that were born before like 95, most people are like, hell no, y'all niggas tweaking, right? And I agree with that, because Drake will never, ever in his long-legged life surpass anything that Michael Jackson has done. It's not even possible, bro. It's probably one of the goofiest comparisons I've ever heard of in my life. I mean, and that's just my opinion. Nigga, I remember being in the kitchen. You know what I mean? With the socks on, doing the moonwalk.
By the time we really got to hear it, it was already old, because it came out like Thriller came out what?
Right, 83? And it was still huge. And that's that the side note. Another. I mean, detour. Come on. Another
came out in 83 or something. So that's
right.
when most of us was born. So
right,
we were still rocking it.
Yep.
Damn near 10 years later.
Listen, I always say this about Drake albums, man. I'm speaking from like the perspective of somebody that really bangs with Drake. I listen to all his albums. You know what I mean, I've been listening to him since the mixtape days. Drake has never really made an album that has that that lasting, in my opinion, that lasting, you know, longevity, legacy. He makes albums that fit his time, and that like, all right, yo, this is a bop, you know. But sidebar, man, I really think that at this point we should really stop disrespecting our greatest artists and our elders in the game. And I've noticed that the younger generation does that a lot. White people don't really do that to their greatest artists, you know. But with us, we'll just jump out the window and be like, oh yeah, he killing that nigga. He's weak now. You know what I mean? Like,
that's true. That's
definitely
cool.
And it's just like, he's weak now. What are you talking? This nigga birthed everything that these other guys are doing right now. Like, what are you?
Yeah,
but
that's true.
But yeah,
I mean,
we gotta stop that, bro. It should be some things that are sacrosanct. We shouldn't feel so comfortable.
But we should also embrace the fact that evolution is inevitable, sir. And like, yeah, we should hold on to those. We should hold on to those. Not evolution. I mean, we should hold on to those the past, to recognize the ones that came before us and realize why we got to where we got to. But also, we gotta understand evolution is inevitable, yo. And
yeah,
Drake
that's not
is
evolution.
now.
What is the evolution in that?
You mean to tell me you think that the sound of today, the reason why Drake makes the music that he does today is not evolution of what became before him?
No. It's definitely
Michael
evolution.
Jackson.
I just said that these old artists birthed the new artists. So yes, it's evolution. Right. What I'm saying is the disregard of respect and reverence for our older artists and how quickly we say, you know what, if they was out today, they'd be trash. Like that stuff, and that's an extreme example, yes. But what I'm saying is it's levels to that kind of rhetoric, right? And I feel like we're very careless with how we
saying. Yeah, but this is something that's always been being done, though. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Nobody at the time they said that he saved the record industry, the entire industry at the time. Nobody, who else is saving the industry?
But you know what?
Nobody.
But Drake technically, and I gotta.
Oh baby, no, I'm selling.
But no, Drake. They talk about all the time how Drake keeps the lights on in these labels. You know,
at the label, he keeps light on in the industry. That's like me keeping that light on in the industry.
That's fact. Yeah,
Here's what you found on the web. According to Empire Sports Media,
it's hard. It's all right. Listen, we also talking about in the '80s, when the industry was a lot smaller. Like, so to say that, like, it's not saying the same thing.
Gary is just jumping out.
It's not me jumping out the window of anything. I just want us to understand that we also have to look at the perspective of both ends, yo. Like, yes, it was a different time. So what you're saying, yeah, it was heavy. It's heavy, but at the same time, if he couldn't do that today, he doesn't need to do that today. I don't think that's what I'm saying, yo. Like, I feel like I show respect to both of them. I just give respect to both. I don't think any man is greater than any man. I think that Drake is
nobody
that
disrespected. I'm just
like
I'm
I
just
think
saying
at the
facts. Like
time,
it was.
Mike was that dude at that time. I don't think
Not talking about
nobody
even
was
being
messing
that
with
dude.
Mike at that time. Just like right now, I don't think anybody's messing with Drake. Drake jumps on your song, you immediately become a superstar. Like JB Black Boy, he was a superstar for 2 weeks. Why? Because Drake jumped on his album. I Love McCohen. He was a superstar for 2 weeks. Why? Because Drake jumped on his album. Now he's breathing life in the future because Future was out of here. But guess what? Drake jumped on with him on the song. He's the biggest dude in the world. So that's all I'm saying, bro.
Yo, Gary, this you right now, yo. This you.
I'm just saying, man. Like, just because I don't agree, and I'm just going to buy into.
This you right now, Gary.
Totally buy into.
It's all you right now, Gary.
No, it's not that, yo. I just don't think y'all want to hear what I have to say on that. That's bad.
Window.
Y'all just want me to be like, no, Michael Jackson is the greatest man to ever record an album ever in life. Like, okay.
No, they was. It's not even about. It's really not about the art of the song, right?
Out.
They said that Thriller, just Thriller, remained a global cultural media phenomenon. When people describing this shit like that off one album, global culture media phenomenon, like it redefined genres, music videos, everything.
That shit was dope. That shit was super dope, and he was doing
Drake
things
is better,
that
though.
nobody
Drake
ever
is
seen
better.
before. So that's what made that what it was, and he changed the game. I give him that. And I'm not saying that Drake has changed the game in any such a way, but he has his own impact. He brought an introspective, emotional way of making hip hop now. Now all these youngers that come in after that always talk about dying all the goddamn time.
Right,
So
but that's in the genre of rap. Listen, no one is saying that Drake has not broken down barriers, done things that are unprecedented. Nobody's saying he hasn't done that. So that's not even the debate. We are specifically talking about what he's done in contrast with Michael Jackson. But look, we can put a button in it. We got Gary's take on it. We got my take on it. I think we know how Marvin feels about it. So we'll once we release this episode, we'll take a poll and see how people feel about each of our takes on that.
I personally don't give a flying shit.
Clearly.
I don't.
Jumping out the window with this one.
Call it what you want to now. Call it what you
want. But no, I appreciate how you know what I mean, you say it with your chest, bro. For real, yo. You rode for that man, yo. You definitely did that.
I didn't ride for nobody. I didn't even say anything. I just was like, yo, I'm not. If y'all would have jumped on the other one, I was just playing the contrary, sir. If y'all have said Drake is the greatest, I'd be like, you bugging. I'd have just jumped the contrary regardless. It's an interesting conversation.
No, I thought you gave your take first, or
no, you gave your take first.
Okay, I thought I
you kicked it off. No, you kicked it off.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you were playing a contrarian, devil's advocate,
all the time.
Okay. Aubrey's advocate. All right.
Call it what you will.
Devil don't need no advocate, yo.
He don't.
Hey, call it what you will. I'm going against a double-headed Michael Jackson monster here. So of course I gotta go.
Monster now. It's a monster.
It's a double-headed.
Well, I mean,
it's a double-headed Michael Jackson monster that I have to go against. I'm fighting for my life here.
Listen. Let's
and I got the views. I'm telling you, I got the views. I just want to. If you reading this, you ain't safe.
Listen, I just want to end it on this right here. Let's not forget the variable, the factor involved in this, that Drake and I'm not going to say this without saying it. Drake's comrades, bunny ears, Drake's people, they are very instrumental in making sure they have a lot of autonomy over the industry that Drake is in. So just as a sidebar, but I'm happy for him, man. Listen, I'm happy anytime black people are getting money, man. You know? And I'm a Drake fan. I rock with Drake. So we'll just end it on that. All right, next topic. All right, this is a good segue. So speaking of overrated takes on rappers, Fat Joe. I just had to, you caught a stray on that, my fault.
Call it what you will, man.
I mean, listen. I think Gary, he jumped out the window. He got that Dominican fresh fade right now. He got that Dominican fresh taper. So, you know, he moving a little different right now, you know. But no,
I
so
am
Fat Joe
right now, sir. And the token light-skinned nigga on this damn podcast today.
You are
okay?
Definitely. All right, so next topic, Fat Joe, Ja Rule battle. Yeah, I mean, versus. I mean, it's a couple weeks late, but whatever. Let's just rap about it real quick.
Yeah.
Fat Joe battled Ja Rule in the versus.
No, Fat Joe got on that grill
and got cleaned
cooked.
up.
You hear me?
Fat Joe got cleaned up. You know, like when you see the janitors in the schools in the hallway with the floor waxer, the buffer.
Yes.
He got buffed.
He was definitely buffing them
He
floors.
got buffed out of there. So
they weren't getting them for a 70 cent.
They were for the 70
they
cent.
wasn't getting them for you ain't gonna get them for a 70 cent.
cent.
You hear me?
So, all right. So yeah. So Fat Joe, Ja Rule battle. I still got some people saying that, and a lot of people like the industry pages I follow, like the little culture pages, anything with culture in it. You know, they kind of pulling what you just pulled and saying like, no, yo, we think Fat Joe might have actually.
I mean, that's
got him out of here.
That's retarded. That's not.
Yeah. So
Fat Joe got some hits. I give him. He's got hits all through decades. But
right,
yo, there was a time Ja Rule was like, Ja Rule was the guy. You understand what I'm talking about?
I mean, Ja Rule has so many hits. He had hits on hits on hits.
It's retarded.
Ja Rule had big hits, and
as much as I
can't.
hated all of them too. I hated all his hits.
Yeah,
yo.
we all did.
Whoa. Why did you hate Ja Rule's hits again?
I hate Ja Rule. I don't like Ja Rule.
How?
I just don't like Ja Rule.
I mean, I keep it a buck. I like Vinny Vidi Vecchi.
Yeah.
When he came out, he was rapping like Pac.
Are you trying to set me up? Are you trying to get me? Are you trying to get me some Drake shit? You better cut it out.
What's the difference?
Listen, I'm not up to nothing. Y'all just saying. Vinny Vidi Vecchi it was all right. That was
I'm talking about chicken over here.
Huh?
What'd you say?
No. I think that I never really ever really liked Ja Rule. He was too many people at the same time.
Yeah,
that was already out at the same time. You know what I mean? Like he sounded like DMX, looked like Tupac, and then like I just never really rocked with Shorty too much.
I just wasn't a big fan of like rap duets. The rap duet phenomena. Well, it just wasn't. I mean, at the time, I was listening to like conscious rap. I was listening to Mobb Deep. I was listening to Capone and Noriega.
Yeah.
And then but I get the
Did your ears
vibe.
change?
What'd you say?
Did your ears change? Because it sounds a lot like some stuff I hear today.
I mean,
he definitely does. Like 50 got on him for singing on tracks. Yeah, 50 got on him for singing on tracks, and then 50 went and sung every hook on every album.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, but for me, I say this. Yes, like my ear has changed a bit on what I like to listen to versus what I used to like to listen to back in the day. Like
singing rap is now popping.
He knows that I was a humongous Wu-Tang fan. Like Wu-Tang, everything. Every single day I had a mixtape of Wu-Tang. That was my group, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody that knows me knew that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's big facts.
But now, like, it changed up a little bit. I got into Jay-Z a little bit, no homo. Like I got to listening to different artists and starting to
like
go on
Aubrey.
different.
Aubrey, your
Yeah,
favorite.
yo,
Your favorite.
like, and
your
when
favorite.
once I got, and you introduced me to Aubrey, I'll never
that's
lie,
a fact.
I'll never forget that day. You
Yo, it
you
was
the one that introduced me to Aubrey.
yeah, it was love at first sight.
It was, yo. It was. And I don't like how you talking to me right now. I don't like how you talking to me. Huh? I don't like it. I don't like it.
Excuse me, say what?
I don't.
Excuse me, say what?
Yes. But I think that I just think that, you know, homeboy's fire. You know what I'm saying? There ain't nothing
He
wrong with
is,
that.
he is.
You know
So
what I
would you
mean?
say that Ja Rule is the precursor?
I
Yeah,
think that
definitely
Ja
in some
Rule,
ways, yes.
Mariah
yes.
Carey. I think that Ja Rule, Mariah Carey, Kanye West, and Michael Jackson are the prerequisite of what Drake is right now. Yeah,
That's
I do.
a fact. That's
You
a
know
fact.
what I'm saying? That's what I think.
Yeah, look, as much as I used to love, I loved it when 50 came out, when my nigga Curtis came out and he was completely just killing Ja Rule. I was like, oh my God, I could not. This is the moment we've all been waiting for.
Yeah,
right?
he got it all the way.
But looking back on it, Ja Rule definitely was. He was a leader in, you know, what we hear now. Yeah, what we hear now. He definitely was. And really that battle, just like a lot of the verses, man, like that battle really did you know, it really gave a lot of times artists that we didn't really respect as much at the time.
Yeah.
All these years later, you hear them in verses and it's like, wow, yo, he was the sound of an era. Like a lot of these joints that I used to dislike, I'm like, you know, I'm jamming right now because he was the sound of the era. Like, and so it builds a new respect.
You're so right
for that artist, you know. So like, I was happy to see him clean Joe up, yo.
Me too.
I was happy to see that. You know what I mean? And you know, on another note, I was also just happy to see that he could clean Joe up and really kind of like expose the fact that Fat Joe was simply Big Pun's friend. They were great friends.
Oh man.
We all loved Big Pun. And I had Cartagena. What was it? Joe Carter. What was the name of that?
Don Cartagena.
Don Cartagena. I had that. And he had some joints on it. You know, like, but like I was saying the other day, I'm like, yo, we really, you know, Fat Joe was like one of those guys where we didn't dislike him, but it was like he wasn't like one of those guys. He was just one of the guys like, oh yeah, he cool, man. But Big Pun is his man, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so like I respect Joe from a business acumen standpoint. Like he's a beast, man. He brought us Big Pun. You know,
I mean, Fat Joe has always been the man next to the man. You know what I'm saying? Right. So he used to be next to Big Pun. Then he was when he was hot. And then he was next to Remy Ma when she got real.
That album by itself though that came out early on.
No, he did. He did. He built a name for himself.
For Jealous One's envy, yo, back in the day. I wasn't. And then when Jealous One Still Envy came out, Jose came out. Nah.
Yeah, I mean he made a solid name for himself from a solo standpoint, but he was never like one of those ones, you know. But and they've kind of tried to.
He also came up in the era of Tupac and Biggie and all the Wu-Tang and all. So how could you?
The bar was set so high, man. Like
it was.
I mean, but you figure that's back when we had to have a little bit of talent to rap, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like you know, just say a bunch of dumb shit on the track beat that sound like everything else, and you good.
Right. You absolutely right. You absolutely right.
Or you could just, you know, sing on half of your album, you know, like the boy. What's his name again? What's your man's name, Gary? What's your man?
Oh, you know who Mr. Graham is, sir. You know who Mr. Graham is.
Your big homie.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, you better stop before I come for your head top. All right? You better stop before I come for your head top. All right? I don't like all this. All right?
Oh, all right. I thought Drake was the big homie. My fault.
You know he's the homie, man. He's the big boy, homie. Man.
The big homie.
He's top 2 and he's not 2. You heard what he said.
Oh wow.
You heard what he said. I didn't say any of it.
Talk
He
that
said
talk.
He said that, not me.
But yeah, so all right. So we got that out the way. Joe got washed up in front of everybody. And then he says some racist stuff.
Yo,
to Vita and Lil Mo.
That proved not to be true.
I'm like, yo, who is
that? Proved
this?
Not to be true.
You said what?
That proved not to be true, or he didn't say it that way. Because Remy Ma had jumped on joint. She said, "Come on now, you talk to him."
No. I'm not saying that he is racist. That's not what. Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is that Remy Ma said, "Come on now, you talk to him after the show. Like, what's up? Like, how you go from hey, how you doing to all of a sudden you offended now? When you jump on
but you know, like when you you look at it like this. You're at that show, and he says some wild stuff, right? That was, you know, pretty offensive or whatever. And it's like, all right, well, maybe people not really, I mean, nobody really kind of like went past people and they not really paying attention. But then after the show, people are like, yo, that was pretty offensive. And it was like low-key racist. At that point, you're like, they did pay attention to that. Now, it is the industry. So like when she came out and did the public tweet or whatever it was, and she was like, yeah, that did make me feel some kind of way. I don't know. He was kind of out of pocket for that. I can't say like it was disingenuous on her part. I just feel like, you know, maybe she was like, all right, people ain't really checking for it. But I know for me personally, I was checking for it. Because when he said, where did you get these dusty hoes? And then he said, what trap did you get them from? I'm not saying that Fat Joe... I'm not saying that Fat Joe is racist, right? But calling women dusty crack hoes does have some racial connotations to it that I feel like I don't think he would have said that if they were two Hispanic women. I don't think he would have said it. Or if they were two white women, he wouldn't have said that, you know? On top of the fact that Lil Mo, she still has a career. She's pretty established and she's doing her thing, you know? And so, I mean, he apologized afterwards, but I just think, you know, he's from the Bronx. And if you know anything about the Bronx and like the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans and all that, there's racism, but they all kind of like, you know, it's the Bronx, like black people with Puerto Rican Dominicans, but there's definitely a racial component in the Bronx. Yeah. I've been to the Bronx. I went to the Bronx with, you know, Kerry, man. So we went up there, you know, Kerry, all he do is mess with Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. So we went to this club. So we went to this club, you know what I mean, in the Bronx, and they wouldn't let me in. But they were about to let him in, but they wouldn't let me in. And so I was like, what's the problem? And he was like, yo, you know, they kind of racist up here, bro. Like most of these clubs, the place that we were, it was a bunch of like the straight up Puerto Rican, you know, Latin clubs and all that, where they play the like ding 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 ding, 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 you know. So they saw my what they saw, the negative. They saw my negative ass in there, and they were like, no bueno. But they were about to let him in, and then so he was like, yeah, they kind of racist up here, bro. You know, you gotta, you know, it is what it is, you know. So for him to say that,
they probably thought he was
definitely
Joe Budden,
has some. What'd you say?
So they probably thought he was Joe Budden in there. Yeah.
Oh, they definitely thought he was Joe Budden. Yo, for real, I won't spend too much time on this, but I definitely think that Kerry and Joe Budden might be the same nigga, yo. Like, I've never seen them in the same room at the same time.
Me neither.
Right?
And I've been trying to figure this out for a long time. All this time we were in school. We didn't know he was up here cooking up mood music. We didn't know that.
Facts. You know? Anyway. But yeah, Marvin, to that point, like, yeah, you know, Joe, he deserved the scrutiny that came after that, man. He was out of pocket. He was out of pocket.
He was out of pocket. I just feel like it may not have been where he was coming from. I don't think it was really etched in racism. I think that he was all right. He was at the battle with Jada and you know, with the Locks and Cameron and them at Dipset. He saw the spirit of that battle and he was trying to carry that same energy. He was trying to make that same moment. Right. You know what I mean? and he said some wild shit, jumped out
Yeah,
there.
right.
You know what I mean? I just
Right.
think you should have left the ladies out of it. You could have got Ja all the way. You could say anything you want to about Ja,
Exactly.
but
You know,
should have left the ladies out.
leave the queens out of that, man. Leave the black queens.
Yeah, that's
out
all.
of that.
That's
You know
all
what
I'm
I mean?
saying.
Like, you know, and they showed up to support. You know what I mean, and make it more live. You know, so you know, you should do nothing. You should do nothing but pay homage to them. You know.
Word. They got hits with both of y'all, so you need to chill. You know what I'm saying?
Relax.
So yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Relax,
So
Latin. Look, relax, Latin King.
Word. But yeah.
All right. All right. So we're gonna go from that to another perfect seamless transition. Speaking of deriding rappers, we had respectfully.
I'm so upset. I'm so upset.
We had
today you were on
debate.
fire. Today you were on fire.
He's on fire. Like the NBA
today
Jam
you
days,
and Marvin are on fire. That's all I'm
NBA,
saying.
NBA Jam, nigga. He's on fire. So, but yeah, speaking of deriding rappers, there's a debate going on online while we were on our brief hiatus. Would you take 500K or would you have dinner with Hov? And the whole thing was basically about, we all know what it's about, like networking, getting, like knowledge, valuable knowledge from someone, right? Kind of like a mentor or whatever. And, no surprise, there were a lot of grown men that said that they would take the dinner with Hov instead of the 500K, right? Okay. What's you guys' take on that?
So there's a lot of grown men that I would imagine they must got, something in there, but in their bank account that can validate that thought process. Because if I can get half a meal ticket, son, all the opportunities I can make happen with that half a milli.
Listen.
You feel me? I mean, check it. I love Jay just like anybody else do. You feel me?
Right. We all love Hov.
You feel
it's
me?
The rock.
All day.
It's the rock.
Butter Ramadan, yeah. We talk about a half a meal ticket, yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Say less. What's your take on that, Marvin?
I would, of course, take the money. Like
he doing the dinner. He's doing the dinner. I saw him yesterday. He's doing the dinner.
I want to eat with that nigga, man.
I would eat with that nigga, man.
Yo.
Look, man, I'm taking the money.
He said that with his chest. He said that with his chest.
I would eat with that nigga, man.
He ain't even call him Hov. He called him that nigga.
Give me the bread.
Listen.
I eat my wife.
I think that the fact that so many brothers, and I mean, they were in the minority, but the fact that I even saw people saying that they would take the dinner, it's just indicative of the times that we're in, man. It's a lot of idol worshiping going on. It's a lot of deriding going on. And I think it's also indicative of the fact that a lot of people do not understand how money works, right? The only way you should be doing a dinner with Hov instead of taking 500K is if Hov was going to guarantee you equity. Like, all right, if you meet me for this dinner, let's discuss how I'm going to give you equity in title or something, even though he doesn't own it anymore.
The only way that dinner would mean anything is if Hov was going to give me 600K. Okay?
Oh, so you mean, all right, so I can take the 500K or you'll give me an extra 100? All right, I'll take the dinner.
I'll take the dinner. That's where I'm going with that. I'll take that 500K and buy Reasonable Doubt again. How about that? How about that?
Listen, if you took that dinner with Hov would have been the biggest dummy mission anyone has ever embarked upon.
Oh, because I'm more than sure you're going to spend the first 15 minutes of that dinner, because you only got an hour. You're going to get the first 15 minutes of that dinner trying to get an autograph or trying to get a selfie. You know what I mean? You're wasting time. You know what I mean?
Time. You're wasting valuable time.
You know what I mean? So shit.
First
Tell
of
me
all,
how you got a Billy.
I got Hov being late.
Oh, and he late too.
Oh, he gonna curve you because he gonna.
Oh yeah. Hov's definitely showing up late.
This man, I ain't trying to talk to this nigga.
Hov is definitely showing up late though, and after he shows up, he about to be pardon my back, B. Like the meme, like the meme that we saw on one all over where like Kanye and him were beefing, and he was eating with his daughter, Blue. Yeah. And he just sitting there like eating. He's like, I don't give a fuck about Kanye. That's how he would have treated you.
It's been just like this the whole time. Like, yeah. Oh, for what? That's nice. Is that what you doing? Oh,
he and his phone literally scrolling through Instagram. He's not even handling important business. He's literally just ignoring it. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure Dame knows that nobody should ever take that dinner. If anybody knows, Dame knows. Mr. Dash is very clear that dinner was
Dash is on like, yo, you get the fuck out of my face. Give me that straight up, yo.
Yeah, man. But yeah, so
straight like that.
All right, so we got that. All right, so let's wrap it up on a serious topic. Haitian refugees at the U.S. border. Oh man, I want to talk about before we talk about that, let's talk about Muhammad Ali, Malcom, Blood Brothers on Netflix. Dope documentary. It actually, I didn't expect a whole lot from it because I was like, all right, well, they're just telling the same story in a different way. We've all heard the story. We know they were good friends, blah, blah. And this is actually a spin back to our first episode, our pilot episode, because like we talked about Malcolm and Malcolm and Ali in that episode. We talked about One Night in Miami on that one. So it's a little throwback, but dope documentary. They did an amazing job telling that story. It was stuff about that story I didn't even know. One of which I didn't know how publicly Ali kind of threw Malcolm under the bus after he defected from Nation of Islam. Did you know about that?
Nah, man.
Yeah, so not Gary, because Gary hasn't seen it yet. I know you saw it.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so in the doc, they played a few clips of Ali in interviews. I mean, just publicly, just killing Malcolm, yo. And I was yo, it was kind of painful to watch, man. Like I'm a huge fan of both of them. So I'm like, damn, yo, they really tore these niggas apart. But I was almost about to turn it off because I'm like, I'm cool. But I watched it all the way through, and in the end, because they had Malcolm's family in there, so they had his daughter in there, a couple other people, and they said that towards the end of Malcolm's life, Ali's life, after he kind of parted ways with NOI, he came to them and said, hey, I'm sorry. Like Malcolm was my heart. Like that was my closest friend. That was my brother. Like I didn't mean any of those things. I kind of had been led astray. And he apologized. He took it all back. He said, if I could turn back the hands of time, I wouldn't have done any of it. I wish we had have stayed close. So I'm glad I watched the whole thing. So I got some resolve at the end. Because watching it, I was like, bro, this is tough to watch, But yeah, I know Marvin saw it. So what'd you think about it?
Malcolm was typical solid. He
because
at first with me, he was talking about. He was like, "Well, Malcolm probably shouldn't have said what he said," but we talk about somebody who says that they are, God or whatever on Earth and all this other stuff,
right?
And then you got somebody like Malcolm who's following your footsteps because he believes it with his soul that this is who you are.
Right.
He changes his life. I mean, all this stuff that you don't do, that you tell us not to do, you doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I find out, I want to make sure that nobody else is led astray because it's gonna hurt when you find out regardless. whether it's 100, whether it's today or 10 days from now, it's gonna be like, dang man, I spent all that time following this dude, and he really out here doing it.
Right. And you know what? Honestly, I was like, at first, you know, seeing, you know, as a grown man now, you know, my take on Malcolm kind of airing out Elijah Muhammad. My take on him airing out Elijah Muhammad as a youth, I was like, yo, he should have did that. It was he had to do it. But now as an adult, I kind of started to see it a little bit different. And I started saying like, well, yo, I mean, why would he out the leader of an entire nation, right? Nation within a nation,
right?
Because you're breaking that belief system that is fueling people to change their lives and to be more disciplined and to be, you know, value adds to their community. So I'm like, yo, it kind of seemed like it might have been kind of petty because Elijah Muhammad silenced him. And so it was kind of like a retaliatory thing, right? Like, so like, I'm gonna get it was like a revenge thing. And so I was like, you know, in that case, man, as an adult, I started looking at it like, man, that was a misstep on Malcolm's part, because if he hadn't done that, he probably still would have been here. Not saying that the Nation of Islam was, you know, like solely the ones that killed him, because the government was involved as well, but he would have been able to be insulated by the Nation of Islam and whatever. But then when me and Marvin talked about it, Marvin was like, but you gotta understand, Elijah Muhammad had the Nation of Islam seeing him as God on earth, right? God incarnate. So in that sense, you can't have a man, you know, acting as God, because at that point, they'll do anything that he tells them to do, whatever it is. But if you now humanize that man, right? That should be a moment of enlightenment. And I think Marvin basically told me like, look, they saw him as God on earth. So Malcolm saw him as that. And so when Malcolm found out about this stuff, he had to keep it a beam, man, because that's how Malcolm was. You know,
he was solid.
That's how Malcolm was. Yeah, he was solid till the last breath. So.
Like, what you saying is true. Like, yo, why would I tell Thomas' wife about Thomas out here around here doing
right?
But
I'm not married, and I'm not. You know, there's no infidelity going on right now. Just want to put that out there because
right. That's also true.
The feminists, they crucify.
Right.
So,
but what I'm saying is, like you were saying, Malcolm was just solid. So he was like, look, I don't want anybody else falling for the same trick. And then you find out and you start, because what it should have led with the ideas instead of the person. Because the ideas were solid. Hey, follow this. It's great. It's perfect. When you start following another man, that's when the issues come in. Because he's always subject to failure in some form. But if you follow the ideas that they were given, then that'd be great. So I think that's what Malcolm was trying to do. And he wanted it to be more of a political thing than a religious thing, because he saw that nation. He was like, we got all these guys training and we letting people we watch our girls get firebombed and we just talking.
Yep.
Like, when does that make sense?
And there's no consequences for our community being attacked. There's no consequences for, and honestly, the way that Elijah Muhammad treated Malcolm was the same way that MLK's father, because MLK's father was a pastor, that's the same way he treated MLK. When MLK started going political, his pops was like, no, there's no space for that in my church. Get out. So they didn't even talk for a long time when Martin started doing his thing, right? So that's like that age-old, thing in the Black community where it's like, all right, are we religious or are we political, right? But
that's why his speeches
you can't separate the two. You can't separate the two.
But that's why if you listen to the ballot or the bullet speech.
The bullet, yeah, right.
If religion isn't doing more for you, then you should keep that in the closet.
Yep.
You know, like we here because we have a common enemy, and we're gonna. This is the plan to sort of. This is the plan that will help us work for ourselves against that common enemy. So let's not come out talking about religion, because then we're going to have disagreements from the outset, and we can't start.
Yep. Yeah, man. So like, I think, yo, Gary, you got to watch that joint, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
It was dope, bro. It was definitely a good watch. All right, so
it sounds like it's a lot of interesting things going on. I really just check.
Yeah, it was official.
You gotta check it out. It's good.
We'll close out with Haitian refugees at the border. So you know, we've all seen the pictures and the videos and whatnot of, you know, like overseers, white overseers riding around on horses, whipping black people. Right?
Okay, Kenny.
Right. Facts. So very reminiscent of the plantation. And you know, it's just
bad imagery, bro.
It's bad imagery and just bad altogether. I mean, we shouldn't be seeing it. We shouldn't be seeing it, but
shouldn't be done.
Right. You know, but at the end of the day, I've always said this, man. I think this is a teachable moment. You know, I mean, we've had a conversation about Black immigrants and Black, descendants of slaves in the U.S., right? And how a lot of times we're not on the same page. And a lot of times Black immigrants see themselves as immigrant first, Black second, right? Yeah. Like that happens, right? So they see themselves more of a part of the immigrant body than they do the Black body in domestically in the States. And so I think this is a teachable moment, because I've said for a long time, Haitian immigrants do not get treated the same way as a Dominican one or a Mexican one, right? And it's solely because of they niggas and the other people aren't, right? Or the other people don't identify as such, right? And I say nigga, not like, I don't say that all Black people are niggas, but you get what I'm saying, right? I say it in jest. So I think this is a teachable moment, because you're seeing, we didn't see Hispanics at the border, Mexicans at the border getting, whipped, right? And being treated like they were on the plantation, right? We didn't see Afghan refugees being treated that way, right? What our government did for Afghan refugees, they literally struck up a formal partnership with Airbnb to make sure they had shelter, places to stay. Biden immediately enacted a bill that released billions of federal funding to make sure they are okay. The same was done for, undocumented Hispanic immigrants. Large federal funding released to make sure that they're okay. And now we see what's happening with Haitians. So I think it's a teachable moment, man. And I think, I think for such a time as now, it's not a good thing, but all things happen for a reason, man. Like the good and the bad. So, and then, lastly, we had one of our Black representatives in Congress. I can never remember names. Maxine Waters. I can never remember names on the podcast. I don't know why. Maxine Waters came out. She did a press conference, and like everything is political theater at this point. So she's banging her fist on this is horrible. This is the worst thing I've ever. This is the worst thing we've experienced since slavery, right? So, and listen, don't compare oppressions, but knock it off, all right? Just knock it off. It's disrespectful to our ancestors, which she is, she's connected to that lineage.
Super connected.
Right. So she should know better, right? But I mean, this goes back to look, the DNC agenda always trumps a Black agenda, and even the Black politicians that are there, they know, and they act accordingly.
What I'm saying is that how do you fight harder for somebody else than your own people? Like, you won't be that forceful because people
Right.
in California that
Right.
need you.
You won't be so demonstrative. You won't be so aggressive, right?
You quiet
Like-
as a church mouse.
Right, right.
Real issues happening every day in your district.
Exactly. You know, like just you know, for example, like just how aggressive Gary was riding for Drake. We didn't see that same aggression with him riding for Mike. We didn't see it, right?
Right.
So
First of all, there's no ride. But anyway, huh? Yeah, no ride.
Say again?
No ride.
I ain't hear you.
No ride. No
Okay.
ride.
All right.
You know what I mean? But all I'm telling you, hey, you can meet me outside because I need a one day.
Listen, I got hands. I ain't afraid to use them either.
I need a one day.
I'm gonna call the police if you hit me. I'm too old for that.
Listen, he said, listen, nigga, I got investments, I got a family. You childish. I ain't about to be.
I'm gonna call the cops if you hit me.
Right.
Don't hit me.
Oh man,
Listen, you're like, man, you ain't about to be messing this face up. I gotta hop on a Zoom call tomorrow for work.
Hey man, I heard you was bad. I'm so sorry, man. But it's hard, man. Anybody that talk about the first lines of a particular song is "Your butt is mine," yo. I don't know how I feel.
Yeah, I listen. When Prince
I'm
said
not defending that.
Listen, when Prince said that, Prince was like, you know, Michael wanted me to be in Beat It, and this is the worst transition ever, by the way, because we didn't even there's no transition from Haitian refugee. But anyway, he's like, he wanted me to be in Beat It, and then you know, I heard the first, you know, the lyrics of the way the verse started out, and the first words were, "Your butt is mine." And there's no way I'm letting another grown man tell me that my butt is his. So I didn't do the song.
I wouldn't do the song either. I wouldn't do the video.
And this is spoken from Prince, a man who literally walked around
with his whole ass out.
With his like my grandmother on my stepfather's side from Virginia, like she said, with his whole hind parts out. His hind parts. But yeah, man. So like, but yeah. So any last words wrapping up first episode, new season 2.
All loves, man. All loves, man. You know, coming from the certified lover boy himself. You know what I'm saying?
Whoa, jumping out the window.
You know, LeBron's the GOAT.
Oh, he just said F it at this point. He like, man,
I'm just gonna say it all.
I'm outside. He's like, I'm outside, yo.
Yeah, I'm outside today. I don't care what y'all think. I don't care. Listen, LeBron's the GOAT. Drake is the #1 artist on the planet of all time. Let me see.
Lord Jesus, help this child. Hey Marvin, bless his heart. Marvin, bless his heart.
And yo, I hate collard greens. I don't care what anybody say. Like,
yo said, I hate collard greens. I hate grits.
Hey, grits and all.
I don't like none of that.
What y'all talking about?
Fried chicken, black people. I mean,
fried chicken.
Hey, you know, I thought Gary was Jamaican on the last episode of the first season. My man was riding for, boy, man. All right, look, Gary outside now, yo.
I'm outside, man. I got a fresh fade and a polo shirt. Y'all need to cut it out, man. All right. He got the.
Since D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation in 1915, the black male image has been under assault. There is one thing that does not exist, and it needs to exist. Black male media by black men for black men.
Loving you. I want to see my dogs on the mountaintops. Them niggas only ballin' when they
I don't feel none of y'all pain. Y'all ain't take none of these risks. I don't feel none of y'all made the decisions I made to be real with this shit. I don't trust none of y'all motives.
So about the media
company, man. So like that's the long game. That's long term. So we got the podcast, and then we want to highlight stories,
right,
that track with the podcast content, right? So like stories,
documentaries, short stories, even movies.
Facts.
One day that'd be a game changer.
That's the long game, bro.
Let's do it.
Motion picture. You know the vibe.
I don't feel none of y'all pain. Y'all ain't take none of these risks. I don't feel none of y'all made the decisions I made to be real with this shit. I don't trust none of y'all